So we have Ferrand 10 Generations honored here at the Bartender Spirits Awards with a gold medal rating of 92 points, highest in its category, earning it Cognac of the Year, honors and Cognac Producer of the Year. We're really, really excited to see this little labor of love show up atop the podium. We're going to give you a little bit of a overview of Ferrand Cognac in terms of brand ethos, get into a little bit of the technical singularities of this product. But Ferrand is, let's see, Ferrand 10 Generations comes from the house of Ferrand Cognac. We make 3 commitments to you throughout our entire product range, even though we're just talking about 10G, as we affectionately call this little cognac, little bruiser of a cognac at 92 proof today. One, we are 100% farm to bottle. When you buy from Ferrand Cognac, you are dealing with an estate operation. It is an exceeding rarity in the global landscape of spirits today to have a brand that through 30 plus hard years of effort has earned a global reputation, especially in the world's best bars, and you can pinpoint where every single grape comes from. 2, all of those grapes are 100% Grand Champagne. No offense to other grape-based producers sharing honors today, but we would humbly argue that we think we're growing, distilling, and nurturing our product in the best place on God's green earth to be making great brandy. And 3, we have a very long tradition of bucking some norms in cognac. And the more we look back in our introspective and explore the 10 plus generations history of the Ferrand family's history of farm to bottle cognac production, we find that cognac used to be a little bit more of a wilder, a little bit more of an experimental place. And we get excited about doing as much of that liquid archaeology as possible, finding inspiration in the past and bringing back forgotten tastes to today's modern cocktail and bar landscape. Today, we're led by Alexander Gabriel, a master blender of over 35 years, who partnered with and resurrected a tiny, tiny little cognac house distilling in Suganzac in the Golden Triangle of Grand Champagne in 1989. And through 10 to 15 years of sleeping on couches, built a recognition for this brand amongst very early connoisseurs during some of the darker days of the brown spirits industry in the United States. And we started to make a little bit of a name for ourselves, selling cognac with a story, selling cognac that came from a place, and building the reputation of a 100% Premier Cru, 100% Grand Champagne cognac. We hope people drinking Grand Champagne cognac out there. We'd love it even more if you drink ours, but anytime you pick up a bottle of cognac, if you do not see the words Premier Cru or Grand Champagne, you have no guarantees that 100% of the contents of that bottle are coming from the highest of the 6 sub-classifications, sub-appellations within the cognac AOC. We're 100% farm to bottle. We're all Grand Champagne in that little chalky bullseye in the heart of the cognac region. It's an absolute geological freak, unseen nearly any place else on the earth, where you walk through our vineyard and you are just kicking up chalk left and right. It's an incredible natural sponge. It retains water when the soil needs it. It drains water when there's a bit of an excess, something that we're actually dealing with at this very moment in cognac, part of the perils of being so tied to the land as a single estate producer. But it's this third element, this lineage and this somewhat renegade heritage of Ferrand that is really demonstrated in a product that is as code-breaking as Ferrand 10 Generations. Rarely does anybody notice this at first blush, but if you pick up our bottle, this family tree adorns the entire bottle. It's not just an illustration of cognac roots, but literally family roots. And you can make out the faces and profile of every single one of the 10 generations of Elie Ferrand that preceded Alexander Gabriel's leadership of Ferrand Cognac. And we are infatuated with that history. We are lucky that we have a physical, really monument left standing to this family's glory days in the boom times of cognac, before things sort of fell off the cliff with phylloxera in the late 19th century. And that's what we call Mademoiselle's Manor, dedicated to the memory of the last inhabitant of that lineage of 10 Ferrands. She sadly passed away at the extremely ripe old age of 94 years old in 2016. We've acquired this house. We're fixing it up painstakingly, brick by brick. But if you're in the trade, if you're a bartender listening, please reach out to me, Sean Frederick. We can really get you a peek behind the curtain and show you this wondrous world that will soon, someday, be a visitor center, but right now is something open only to friends and family in the trade. Every drawer you open, around every corner, there's a surprise lurking in this old glorious cognac manor, including tons of ledgers that show different barrel styles, different types of wood, wood that contained other things other than cognac, which were thought of as totally verboten since the cognac AOC really was chiseled into stone in the 1920s and 1930s. And we carefully, and sometimes with a little aggravation to some of our neighbors in the cognac landscape, have shown that, boy, there were different maturation styles used. We're interested in a greater diversity of grapes and cepage in our products. And why can't we do it today in 2024 if it was done back then? So in this manner, we found evidence of a double maceration technique, which we believe are the first to reintroduce to the landscape of cognac in nearly a century. And this is a product that is double matured, 20% of it in Sauternes. We are just a stone's throw, a 90-minute drive to be more precise, from that incredible region in Bordeaux. And we have access to these barrels when they are super fresh. It feels very novel to be double maturing with Sauternes in the cognac landscape. We've got a lot of malt whiskey producers, even some American craft distilleries that have availed themselves of this wondrous double maturation element far ahead of us. But we're the first, we believe, to reintroduce it to cognac. And we would humbly posit that we're able to work with this element when it's at its freshest peak. These are barrels that are emptied in the morning and they're recast with cognac the same day. They're not skipping over the channel into the British Isles to double mature whiskey. They're not coming over in a hot container, getting baked in the ocean, growing God knows what in them on their way to the United States. And we can capture the freshness, the honeyed white flower, vine flower notes of that incredible, noble wine from Bordeaux. And the reason we use it is really just to make our cognac taste more like itself. Ferrand Cognac's even to the top of our range. You get it to rarities like Selection des Anges, really a kind of our XO Ordage product, or Legendaire, which is approaching that rarefied air of a Louis Trey-like price point. We make sure that the soul of the fruit is always intact to the point of bottling. You're not just tasting the last dying gasps of what something picked up in the cask, but you can still taste fruit on the vine. And this is a tool that just kind of like highlights those tasting notes on the page. It makes that l'âge de fruit, that really bursting, vivacious, fruity quality that comes from some of the best land in the brandy industry pop a little bit more in the bottle, as does an elevated proof, which is why we suggest doing something that you might not typically see done with a cognac and introduce your guest to a cognac old fashioned. This is a cognac that does not rock somebody to sleep. It wakes them up. At 92 proof within our main product line. It's actually our highest ABV for an everyday available product outside of single casks and other rarities. So this can really stand up in the mixing glass and gives the bartender, who always is looking to expand their guests' horizons when entrusted by the guest, to give somebody a cognac experience that can really grab them by the lapels, shake them up, make them think twice about dismissing what some whiskey purists might dismiss as kind of an old, sleepy category, where a lot of things are just trying to be the same thing to everybody. So this is a cognac that can stand up in the glass, get people's attention, and we are delighted that it was recognized with Cognac of the Year honors at the 2024 Bartender Spirits Awards. So